Hi everyone, Ohayo gozaimasu. Welcome! This channel is for Japanese learners of English. Kiyomo shadowing no lesson wo yadakimasho. Listen to today's real native conversation. Focus on the rhythm and shadow along. Practice daily to master tango, bunpao, hatsuan, and rhythm. Repeat and try again tomorrow if needed. Zehi. Chanaru no toroku wo onegai shimasu. Okay, are you ready? Here we go.
Okay, so you've got your business idea, right? But how do you know when you're actually going to start making money? Like really making money?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? I mean, you can have this incredible idea, but the financials, that's where the rubber meets the road. It's when your sales are enough to cover all of your costs. It's called break even.
Break even. Okay, so it's not about just making any money. It's about covering expenses, all of them, like all the bills, all the salaries, everything, yeah?
Exactly. It's that point where you are not in loss or profit. All your costs are met through your revenue, the money you make. So before that point, you're in the red, but once you get past it, every sale, that is pure profit, in theory.
I see. So it is like the line in the sand, the starting line for true profit making. But how do you even figure out where that point is? Like, is it a gut feeling or is there, math involved?
Oh, there's definitely math involved, for sure.
Yeah.
There's a couple of ways to calculate it. There's that simple break-even point where you are covering all your fixed costs, the rent, insurance, that sort of thing, right? Then there's that other level which can show you the number of units you need to sell to cover costs.
Okay, so let's start with the simpler one first, the one for covering those fixed costs. What's that all about, and how do you go about figuring that out?
All right, so picture it. Your fixed costs are like your constant bills. Your overhead, they don't change much no matter how much or how little you sell. And the gross profit margin, that's the amount of money you keep from each sale after taking out the direct costs. So the break-even point formula basically divides those fixed costs by your gross profit margin.
Right. So if your rent and utilities and all of that are, say, $10,000 a month, and you're keeping, say, 50 cents for every dollar you sell, then you're dividing 10,000 by 50%, which should give you 20,000, right?
Precisely. 20,000 in sales that month, and you're at the point where you've paid for your fixed costs. Now, when you factor in the variable costs, your raw materials or wages for people involved in sales, then it is a different story. It's a more complicated picture.
Yeah, it makes sense, because those variable costs, they change with each unit you make or sell, right? So how does the calculation work if you want to figure out the number of units you need to sell? Is there another formula or what?
Yeah. So it's kind of similar, but it uses your fixed costs, along with the selling price of your product and the variable cost per unit. It's fixed costs divided by the selling price per unit minus the variable cost per unit.
Okay. So you are figuring out, like, how much money you actually make on each unit and then using that to see how many you need to sell to cover all the fixed costs.
Exactly. It is the contribution each unit makes to covering those fixed costs. Say a tennis racket costs you 10 to make, and you sell it for 50. Then each racket is contributing 40. Then you are dividing those fixed costs by 40 to get the number of rackets you need to sell.
So the break-even point, it's not a one-time thing. It's something you need to keep track of and recalculate often, especially with the way things are these days.
For sure, because those fixed costs, they change sometimes. Your sales can go up and down. Even your variable costs might fluctuate. So you need to keep an eye on them. But why is all this useful? It's not just numbers for numbers' sake. It tells you where your risk is, or if your prices are set right.
Right, and it's also a huge part of planning a business, no? Like if you're aiming to get funding, or if you are trying to see if your idea is realistic in the first place, you can't just hope to make money. You got to know you can and when.
That's it, a big part of it, especially when you're talking to investors. It's more than just having a great product. You need to show a clear path to profitability. But there's a little bit of a downside to it as well when you rely solely on break-even.
Okay, so there are some limitations to this, I'm guessing. Like, it can't predict whether there will be any demand for the product or how competition might impact things, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's not a crystal ball for demand. It doesn't guarantee sales. You need to layer this with other financial metrics. But still, knowing that point helps make business decisions.
So it's a great start, but you can't put all your eggs in that basket. You have to look at it with other factors, other financial health checks.
Totally. It's the starting line, not the finish line, of understanding your business's potential and profitability.
All right, we've finished today's lesson. How did you find it? Rikai. できない部分はありませんでしたか? Repeat and try again tomorrow if needed. Please let me know your 感想 or request in the comments. ぜひチャンネルの登録をお願いします. I look forward to seeing you all again soon. See you next time. Bye bye.